Hey everybody, it's Pedal Guy here. It is Friday, it is the last day of March. It is springtime, it is time to live stream. So that's what we're doing today, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope you're having you had a great winter. I hope you have an even amazing more spring, and we're going to start things off with the Amp Academy today, which is what I'm going to be concentrating on today. So can you guys hear me? Can anybody hear me out there? I can't see I can see you're chatting, but I can't see all the screens that are going on right now because we're broadcasting over 4 or 5 different social media channels, and I really do hope that everybody can see it cleanly and clearly. I've worked very hard to try to make this as clean as possible, so give me a little shout, let me know you're alive out there. You can see that we've got all kinds of things going on over here on this side of the screen. So you'll see the questions come in as we get them. And there we go, loud and clear on YouTube. Thank you, TL. I appreciate that truly. I'm glad you can hear it. I was working with Restream. I'm still working with Restream. But these days I decided to try to up my game in OBS. And so if you don't know what that is, that's okay. Don't worry, it's my cross to bear, not yours. But nevertheless, what we're doing here is using my brand new kick-ass machine over here. I've got a new laptop that is a gaming laptop with an NVIDIA video card in it, and it is just smoking like there's no tomorrow. It even does the little kit thing, the whoop whoop thing at the bottom, which I think is really fun. So this is the first stream on this new computer. Thus far, I'm really happy with what I'm seeing. I can see it here on the screen, and hopefully you guys can see that as well. So today what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be talking about Amp Academy. Now, why are we talking about Amp Academy? Amp Academy is not a brand new product. Well, yeah, it's not a brand new product, but it is maybe a product that you might not know that much about. And even though we've done a lot of videos about Amp Academy over the last couple of years, and there's certainly been plenty of other other things that we've explored into. Some of the things that we haven't talked about really that much until just recently was the fact that you can now use it on your phone, whether you're on iOS or Android. The Android is brand new. And there's also the ability to use MIDI, which a lot of people have been asking me for over the last year. They've been asking me to do a video about MIDI and how to use it. I did an introductory video last week that maybe you saw on my YouTube channel. If you did, give me a wave. Hopefully you're one of the 600 people that watched it. It's not the most compelling content in the world, but it is the most informational is what we're trying to go for. I think YouTube these days, if you're trying to go just for views and views are the only metric that you care about, you really won't grow in a way that makes sense. I mean, I could be on YouTube, we could all be on YouTube making a bunch of outlandish statements and, getting on board of certain controversies that have happened within the MI over the last few weeks or months. But who wants to watch that? There's plenty of that out there. Here's where you're going to find the information, and that's what I do here. So this is an informational show. This is a place where, yes, I will absolutely share opinions and all that wonderful fun stuff, but this is also a place where you're here to learn, and hopefully we can all just have a wonderful time learning about these products, because Amp Academy is so much fun to work with. Let me see what I got here going on here. I just want to make sure that everything is rocking away here. I see people. I see some people here. I think we may be having a small issue on some of our messaging here, but I will be checking it as we go through. And yeah, I can see some of it's coming through, some of it isn't coming through. I'll try to see if I can hammer that out real quick here and get that sorted out here. Bear with me for a second. Let me take a look here on the channels and see what's going on and see if we've got that popped out here. Bear with me for one quick second. Okay. All right, yep. So we have several chats going on at once here. Okay, here we go. Let's pop that chat out. Okay, and that should be that. All right, well, at this point, we have to go with what we've got. And let's see. Let's get back over here and see if anything's showing up. Yeah, there's a few things showing up. But if you guys are not able to see your messages show up over here on the side, my apologies if that's the case. We're working through all of those fun things. It's a how do I put it? It is a very it's a very tangled web to try to make all of this work. I was working with Restream for all these months, just working in their studio, and it just has so many limitations that I just couldn't take anymore. So I decided to start looking at OBS, which is what I use to actually record all of my videos. So if these camera angles seem familiar to you, that's probably why. But in any case, I will at some point turn my attention towards the chat windows here. I see a couple of them here. Let me see. Anybody else? Anybody else? Hello, hello, hello. Yep, I see it. Okay, John, how are you? I see you there. That's wonderful. Okay, good, good. I think Facebook is the only one that's giving us some trouble. So if you're on Facebook and you can't see your tags over here or your posts over here, I'll see what I can do later on. But I can call you guys out and say, hey, here we go. So if you got questions, you do me a favor and shout it out over there, and I will get to you. So let me show you what we're going to do today rather than worry about all of that, okay? So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about Amp Academy, as I mentioned before, and I'm going to be showing you how to set it up or how it works with your iOS or your Android device. Now I'm showing it to you on a iOS device. My cable's a little short here. On my iOS device here. By the way, if you want to see something really funny, check this out. Woo! I can have all kinds of fun with that. But the iOS capabilities of the Amp Academy are so much fun because whether you're on iOS or whether you're on Android, and I have tested it on Android and it works perfectly, by the way, it's fantastic because I can make adjustments from the pedal itself or right from the app where I can just toggle through all of the various, where I can toggle through the scenes, where I can turn off different modules, all that great stuff. So I want to talk a little bit about what you need in order to make this work if you're on a iOS device or if you're on a Android device. But let's talk about why somebody would want to do this. So if you've worked with Amp Academy at all, Amp Academy, if you haven't worked with Amp Academy, let me describe what Amp Academy is first. I'll try not to trip over my words as I go through this. So Amp Academy is a amp in a pedal, is the easiest way to put it. You have your amps, you have your cabinets or your impulse responses, you have some reverb, you have a send and return so you can bring in your own pedals into the mix. You also have EQ, you have noise reduction, you also have an effects block in the beginning where you can pop in a compressor or a boost or a distortion or overdrive or anything like that. And there are a host of scenes as well. So you can jump from scene to scene to scene where you can select one of 12 different amps, set it up any way you want to, then jump to another scene where you then can use that same setup and make different configurations, and then a third scene as well. So you can jump from scene to scene to scene on one single amp. So it's almost like getting 3 presets within one preset, really, because you can come up with some really interesting sounds. You know, it's one of the things that I really like about the product, and its simplicity as well. If I can emphasize that word enough, enunciate that word enough. Simplicity is so very important when we're doing all of this stuff. So especially if you're in a live environment or a studio environment, simplicity is really the name of the game, because the last thing you want to be doing is diddling with your pedal in the middle of getting set up for a sound check. However, in those instances where you do need to do that, because it does happen, the easiest thing to do is just to get out your phone and start making those adjustments and say, you know what, I'm not really crazy about this amp, so maybe I want to change it to one of the other amps that are available to me, like the Twin Reverb or the Vibro King, or maybe the Cali Crunch. Maybe I want a Mesa, maybe I want the Brit Blues, whatever it may be. That's where you can make all those adjustments. Or you're listening to the amp in a live environment because it's going to sound different in a live environment than it will in your studio. Or in, if you're just plugging into a soundboard as I'm doing here. It's going to completely sound different depending on the room, the size of the room. You might say to yourself, you know what? It's just a little too brittle. Maybe I'll turn the bright channel off on the treble. Maybe I might adjust the bias. Maybe I might adjust whatever. Maybe there's too much gain. Maybe we pull the gain back, right? So the way you'd have to do it originally when we released this product is you had to lug your computer around with you, plug your computer into it, and then go to it. And I mean, come on, let's be real here. How many of us want to take our computer to a show that we're doing? I would say that unless you're actually using it on stage with you, that is a very unlikely scenario, because I sure do not want to put my computer into my car or backstage or something if I'm at a gig, because the likeliness of it still being there by the time I'm done is about zilch. So I would say, yeah, don't do that. Okay, Jenno, I see you've got a question. I will try to get to that in a while, because it's not related specifically to, well, the Cerberus is, it's a Cerberus and an Amp Academy question. We're going to talk about MIDI. I will talk about that in a few minutes, okay? So don't worry, we'll get there. All right. So in any case, what are the benefits here? Well, it's very simple. So here's a couple things you can do. First and foremost, you can turn off and on different signal blocks if you want to. Just simply tap on it, and there you go. Oh, actually, hang on. Let's take a quick step back. Sorry, I'm going really fast here. Trying not to, but it is happening that way. Oh, okay, it's all coming from YouTube. Well, there you go. Okay, so how do we connect? Well, first and foremost, if you're on iOS, you're going to need one of these on-the-go kits. Okay, this is really important. You need one of these in order to make it work, because if you don't, then there's no way to connect up to the phone. So you need to go USB-C to a USB-A cable, and then go from there to Lightning. So you just need an on-the-go adapter, and it will work fine. Obviously, you want to have the latest iOS on your phone or iPad or whatever you're working with. If you're on Windows, it is about the same. If you're working with, I'm sorry, Windows, I meant Android, pardon me. If you're on Android, it's about the same, where you would just go USB-C to a USB-A cable and then use an on-the-go adapter. Or the easier way, and this is one of the things I do like about working on Android, is that you can just get a USB-C to USB-C cable. Probably not this long, but I didn't have another USB-C to USB-C cable in here. So this is the one I got. So you can use that and it will work just fine. It'll connect up, and that's all she wrote. And the great thing is everything I'm showing you here is completely reproducible on both sides. So, yeah, okay, Oscar, I see you just asked a question. If you could please phrase that in English, I'd appreciate it, because I can't translate it here on the go. Thank you for your understanding. But I definitely want to help you out. Okay, so once you've done that, okay, we can go onto the screen of the app here, and we can do a various amount of things. So in this first, on channel A, by the way, if you make the changes on the pedal itself, you can see that those changes are reflected on the screen, and it's very cool. So in this case here on channel A, we are using a Super Reverb, which is a fantastic sounding amp. Down below, we have all of the signal blocks along the path here. So we could turn on different signal blocks if we want to. So noise reduction, the effects, the amp and the IR stay on all the time, so you don't need to worry about turning those off or on. The EQ, the send and return, the reverb. And if you press and hold on any of these, that will bring up an interface that enables you to alter the values. Okay, so we can press and hold on the effects block, and you can see that it's set to a compressor. But if I go to the drop-down menu here, here are all of my different options. So I could go to a dirty distortion. I could then turn it on, and I can make some adjustments to the various parameters, close it, and at that point, you're pretty much there. The only thing you need to remember to do, though, is you do need to remember to save. Now, I'm not going to hit save because I like this the way it is, but my point is, if you go to another scene and then you jump back, everything you've just done is lost. So you want to make sure that you do save as you go. Now, what you can do is you can tap on the little save icon in the upper right corner of the app and watch what happens when I do that. See the little LED down here? If I tap on that, see how it starts blinking? That's to let you know that it's saving into that memory slot. So it's very handy to use if you want to make adjustments to, like, say, the treble. You can do that, middle, bass, whatever. And also, if you go to just the left of the save icon on the app, you have the ability to copy the amps parameters to scene 2 and scene 3. Because here's the thing that's really cool about the Amp Academy. And maybe you didn't know this. See, I hope that this is maybe an opportunity for you guys to learn some new stuff, right? Is that each one of the scenes can have differing values on the active modules that are in there. Meaning that I can go from scene to scene and I can adjust. You can see that a couple of adjustments have happened already between the scenes here. In fact, let me do it from the pedal. So you can see that, okay, in scene 1, the amp has these specific settings. But if I go over one, you can see that the gain went up just slightly, and you can see that other signal blocks were activated. If I press on it again, you can now see that the brightness was turned off on the amp, the send and return is now on, the effects block is turned on, and the noise reduction is turned on. Not only that, but you can also go into the signal blocks themselves. Let's go back over to scene 2 of this channel. Okay, I'm going to open up effects, and you can see that I've got the morning drive opened as my overdrive on this scene. All right, and it's got its various settings. Now, if I go over to scene 3 and I go back to that effects signal block, check it out. Now I've got a distortion on that block. So you can actually change it per scene. So you really do get a lot of customization per scene inside of the Amp Academy. It's one of the really awesome features of the pedal that I'm not sure if everybody knows that you can do that. You could literally have a different reverb on every scene within one channel if you want to. The same thing goes for the channel B as well. If you toggle over to channel B, you could do the same exact thing. It is really one of the hottest features of the product. But let's actually just plug in here real quick, and we can play a little audio here and have a little fun here. So let me get out my trusty dusty PV telly. This is a 90s telly, in case anybody was wondering. Let's see if we're in tune as well. While I'm tuning up, anybody had any nostalgic moments this week, or is in the middle of music nostalgia? Give me a shout out if you are. And by the way, I'm using our flip up. I'm using our flip up tuner here. You can barely see it there in the corner, but it's an auto on tuner. It's very handy. I've had my nostalgic moment the last couple weeks. I mean, I go through my phases. I don't know how you guys are with your music listening habits. In my music listening habits, I'm always playing around with, one band or another. Like I had a huge Pink Floyd kick a couple of months ago, probably because of all the stormy weather we've been getting here in California. And Taurus said he just saw Kip Winger 2 nights ago. That's pretty awesome. I'm going to tell you a Winger thing in just a minute. But lately, in this last week or so, it's been Mark Knopfler all the way. I've had a Dire Straits thing going on, so that's why I got out the telly. Even though he plays mostly Strats, and I love my Strat, don't get me wrong. Sometimes when I'm working on a song or I'm working on an idea, if I start making bends on the strings, especially if the bridge is floating just a little bit, it's so hard for the intonation. So sometimes you just want that chicken picking thing going on there. So it's one of my more favorite things to do here. So let me throw on my cans here, and I'll turn on our channel. Can you guys hear me? Can you give me a quick message? Let me know you can hear me, okay? Give me a quick shout out. Let me know that you can hear the guitar, okay? I just had my guitar guy reset this guitar up. Thank you, Taurus. I appreciate that. All right, I'll tell you something really quick about an upcoming product. Now, probably one of the worst kept secrets we have right now, and not that it's a secret. We let the cat out of the bag earlier in the week, but there's a new pedal called the Trident coming that we're going to be showing at the upcoming NAMM show in a couple of weeks. And by the way, if you're not attending, that's okay. Just stay tuned to all of our social channels because, guys, if you've watched me long enough, you know that I don't shut up. That's one of the things I can't do. I don't really think I'm mentally capable of shutting up for a period of time. I've always got to talk on Facebook or on YouTube or whatever. I don't know, maybe Instagram. But Trident was announced, and we're having a bunch of artists do presets for the Trident. None other than Mr. Reb Beach himself. So Taurus, maybe that would be of interest to you all. He is going to be doing the presets for the Trident. Now, I have to tell you, I corrected the manual on it. I had a unit here, but it was a non-functional unit. And so I'm waiting to get my hands on one. And as soon as I do, you can believe that we're going to be doing a lot of live streaming about that. But it is a completely different monster from what we're talking about here. Okay, so here we go. Got the... I love this guitar. You know, Peavey made really great guitars in the 90s. I mean, they still make okay guitars. But they made really good guitars in the 80s and the 90s. I love the Nitro. It's one of my favorites. If you can find a Vandenberg in good condition, those are really great. Of course, the T75 and all those are really cool. And I love the Generations. And I used to sell the 90s Strats and Tellys at my one music retail job that I had a long time ago. But in any case, let's get back to what we're here to talk about now. Okay, so here's the thing. So if I go through this, I'm at the gig and I'm listening and I'm going, oh, you know what? That sounds good, but I don't need any reverb. Boom, turn that reverb off. Because there's plenty of reverb, natural reverb in the place. Or I could go the other way on it and say, you know what? I need that reverb. I need a different kind because I'm not digging on the plate. I need a spring reverb because I'm playing a Fender amp and I've decided we're going to improvise and we're going to do a little Dick Dale action here, okay? So I'll bring that decay up, bring that level up. Now one of my biggest pet peeves on amp modeling are spring reverbs because I go all the way back to the 90s and I've heard the crappiest ones you can imagine. I've heard some of the best ones you can imagine, and this is a pretty damn good one. Okay, so. Okay, but then maybe I drank a little too much, or you know, things happen at the gigs. We get nervous. Maybe for some twisted, bizarre, sick reason, I need the reverb to go all the way to the beginning before the amp, and hopefully it's in tune too. I might add. There we go. The G string sometimes just gives me trouble. I know, there's a bad joke in there somewhere. Please don't bother, because I would have already thought of it anyway. Okay, so I could put the reverb all the way to the beginning, or I could turn on the effects block, and let's say I want that to be, instead of a compressor, maybe I want that to be a tube screamer. Okay, not the best idea in the world. Obviously, you don't want to put a reverb before an effects or an overdrive, and you don't want it there either before the amp, because what's happening is all of the reverb reflections are now going through the preamp and the cabinet. Now, sometimes that can make sense when it comes to doing this stuff, guys. When it comes to the rules, it's like there are no rules. Okay, there are fundamentals that we build upon, but there are no rules. You know, just like Back to the Future, roads. Where we're going, we don't need roads. Okay, and so again, another thing I do, I make a lot of bad jokes, guys. But then again, if you've been watching my YouTube videos or anything like that for a long period of time, you know that that's what I'm all about. Now, in this case here, what's wrong with this is that the level of the tube screamer is just way too loud. So that sounds pretty good in the neck position. How about in the bridge position? Of course, if you want to, and I'm going to try not to get a copyright strike here on Facebook, but, All right, so there you go. Copyright strike. And out of tune. Maybe that's how I can compete and say, it wasn't really a copyright strike, man. I wasn't even in the same tuning, dude. But now at this point, if you want to, you can go to the little save icon on the app if you want to. Now the other thing you can do is you could just simply press and hold the scene of the amp selection, the channel selection, because you can see that we say right there, hold for save. So you could save it, and there you go, it's saved. So if you go down between the different scenes, now you can hear in this scene, I've integrated the send and return, and I've got it going to our brand new Voodoo Vibe, which is just a very snazzy pedal. Actually, I just realized you can't see that because I haven't gone to that scene yet in our live stream. I really do love the Voodoo Vibe. Yeah, that is a lot of fun. Okay, let me go back to that first scene though. In fact, I'll use the foot switch here and just go back to that first scene. I want to turn that effects block off because I want that to be as clean as possible. And wow, I just love the way this thing sounds. Okay, so I can make a lot of... Okay, we're getting a little tuning problem going on here. That G string just keeps giving me trouble there. Probably have to switch to a graphite nut maybe there, because sometimes that does help, especially with the older guitars. What's the one? Here's another question for you guys. What is the one guitar that you wish you have tried this whole time? What's the one that you still lust after a bit, that you haven't been able to actually put your hands on one and try it, or you saw one and you just couldn't get it to it in time before it was bought, or before whatever didn't work for you? You know what mine is? The Jeff Beck Strat. I've always wanted to try the Jeff Beck Strat, and I just never I never go to stores these days. Probably should start going back to stores, but I do go to stores. It's just that I'm not on the active lookout for a Jeff Beck Strat. But if I do ever get my hands on one, that's one I'd love to check out. It's definitely one of my lusties. Okay, so the same thing goes for like switching over to the other side, to the second channel. Okay. Now, what do we have on this one? I believe, we've got the Soldano on this one, which is one of my more favorite of the Dirty Amps on Channel B. Although it sounds a bit muddy. Now, that could be because I believe in the case of this one, if I go to the IR, I am not using the traditional Soldano cabinet. I am using I'm using a Brit 112 here. So maybe let's go to a Soldano. It's okay too. But I kind of liked it the way it was. Because I can always make some adjustments here. Yeah, it sounds kind of like AC/DC, doesn't it? Let's save that while we're working. Make sure, see, it's blinking to let you know it's saving. Okay, we'll go to the next scene. So let me use the foot switch here. Yep, I love that. Very cavernous though, isn't it? Okay, you know what? I just got a very good question here from Oscar. So let me bring him up. Where are the IRs in the app? Okay, Oscar, that's a really great question. Let's go over to the IR block. Let's bring that up. And lo and behold, there you go. You press and hold and it pops up. And now as you can see, all of the impulse responses are right there. Now, here is where you do need to here's where you do need to make sure that if you're going to load up new impulse responses, you have to do that on your computer. You can't do that on the phone, as far as I can tell at this time. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, I'm not sure. But as far as importing new IRs, you do need to do that from the app on your computer. So you do need a Windows or Mac machine, and then you can occupy any of those other empty slots with impulse responses. Like I got some really nice Celestian ones that I really like. But if we wanted to go to something completely different here, like let's say we wanted to go to a Fender IR. Now that's just Mud City. I'm not crazy about that. That one's kind of muddy too. I'll just go back to, we'll go back to the Soldano. Okay. Hopefully that answered your question. Okay, so from here you could do, if you wanted to brighten it up a little bit more, you could go to the EQ. Now in this case, let's see, what were you doing here? Okay, so let's say we wanted to bring up, this is where a stylus pen might be a handy thing. So if you do have a stylus pen, I highly recommend it. It might make this process a little easier. Okay. Like I'm just kind of, oh, come on, man. Nope, not happy with that. Okay, something's, either my phone is freaking out on me or I'm not sure here. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Hello. Oh, well, also helps if you turn it on. That does help. Yeah. And that did not sound good. Right, because this is the level. So you want to be careful. Right? You don't want to overdo it. This thing about... Oh, that's nice and bitey, isn't that? Did I just use the word bitey? Okay, sometimes let's just get the... Come on. There you go. Okay. I think my phone is just tweaking out here a little bit. All right. This is my phone, kids. This is not any problem with the app. There you go. That's nice. Right, now turn it back on. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so let's save that. And that gave us a little more bite, so just a little more clarity. How about that? It's really funny too because this guitar in particular, you know, has a couple of single coils here in the bridge position, and it is very brassy when the right amp is selected. And I can tell a difference between this Soldano and the one that's like say found in the MG30. There is definitely a difference. Now it could be because I just have a bunch of extra stuff on my preset over there with the Soldano on the MG30, but I can definitely tell a difference. It's something about that organic sense about going back to basics when you're working with like the Amp Academy, because you don't have like a bunch of gobbledygook that comes after it. You've got just the Amp Academy and what comes with the Amp Academy and the other things you can add to it. And sometimes that can be a really big improvement to the tone, especially when we're going to like say the ascend and return. Okay. What do you guys think? I'm not hearing anything. I'm not seeing anything on I'm not seeing much on the chat there. So either everybody's asleep or my melodious voices put you to sleep. I won't promise I won't make weird faces like that, but that's the thing. This is all fun, right? So just make sure you're saving it. There you go. Saying the Canadian Beaver. That's an interesting screen name. I didn't know the Canadian Beaver was in need of being saved. Okay, let's tap over there one more second. So we could go over to, say, back to channel A. Yeah, so really good stuff, man. Okay, so I can noodle all day on this, but this is how the app works. Okay, so the app is all about being able to make changes as you're at the gig. There are other things you can do as well with the app. For example, I can go into the gear section here and I can set up the parameter to follow. I can set up the DI, so if I want to use the direct out, which is over here on the side, that's really helpful. The other thing too are sticky scenes, and sticky scenes are pretty awesome because what sticky scenes will allow you to do is if you turn it on, it will remember what scene you're on when you switch between channels. Okay, so let me explain what that is really quick in case you haven't seen this. Okay, so with sticky scenes, if I've got that turned on, and let's say I'm on channel A and I go over to scene 2, and then I go over to channel B and I want to go to say to scene 3. If I go back to scene 2, you can, or I'm sorry, channel 1, you can see that scene 2 is now still selected. Now, if that's not the case, okay, so if it's not turned on, okay, so let's say you've got scene just the regular scene selected. Okay, if I go between the two channels, you can see that it jumps right back to scene 1. But with sticky scenes, okay, so again, let me make sure I'm just making this 100% clear so you guys understand the coolness of this particular feature. I'm on channel A, I'm on my clean channel, okay, and I like scene 2, okay, and I go over to channel B, I go over to the distortion channel, and in this case, I like scene 3. Okay, if I jump back to the first channel again, it goes right back to scene 1 again. So basically it's resetting and going right back to 0. So what I can do is I'm gonna go back in here and I'm gonna go to sticky scenes, go back And let's say I'm on channel A. I'm going to go over to scene 3. Actually, I'm going to go to scene 2. Okay, now I'm going to toggle over to channel B, and I would normally start right here, but I want to be in scene 3. And now if I toggle between the two scenes, it remembers where I was, and it goes right back to that. So that's like one of the cool things we added in last year. I think it was in the first or second firmware update we did that, and it's a pretty cool feature. I'm pretty jazzed about that one. A lot of innovation going on with that. Now let me go back over to, there we go. All right. My phone has been on now literally for 40, 50 minutes without a break, which is probably why it's freaking out a little bit. But in any case, that's what using the app is like. So making those adjustments, being able to make those adjustments while you're at the gig, while you're in the studio, whatever the case may be, that is one of the best things about this. So I absolutely recommend that you check it out. If you haven't used the Amp Academy yet, this is one of the things that you absolutely must check out because it really is one of the best things. Let me get rid of my cans here really quick and get rid of the guitar for a quick second. Okay, and the reason being is because we're going to switch to the next part of today's tutorial, which is we're going to be talking about MIDI. Not M1, D1, not MIDI, not any of those. Those are some old jokes. Some old jokes, some bold jokes. There we go. Hi, see, we got a lot of people over here now. How you doing? How you doing? Woo! Let's see. Let me prepare everything for the next part of this tutorial. Let me go over here and do this. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay. I'm making a couple of adjustments here on my rig because we have to go to our MIDI setup to make this all work. Okay, there we go. All right, good. Now we are there. So now I can bring out the power. I can plug in the power here. There we go. Okay, so now we are ready to rock and roll in just a second as we shift over to MIDI. So just to show you that really quick, we're going to be covering this, what this is all about, how all of this works, how it's set up, and I even went analog. And got me my notebook out and actually wrote down all the setups here because I can't have the app open and what I'm going to be doing here at the same exact time because I'm using an Ampero control as my MIDI foot switch for this one. So let me see if I can answer a couple of questions while we're here. This is kind of annoying right here. So let me kill that for a second. Okay, that's a little annoying, isn't it? I want to answer a couple of questions here before we move into the next section. So let me go back up the list here. Okay, so Jeno asked this question. Can the Cerberus send program changes, control changes to the Amp Academy? That's a really good question. That is an exceptionally good question. Jeno, I'm going to have to actually look at the unit myself. In theory, it's possible, but I haven't tried it. If there's an output, if there's a MIDI output, and I don't remember right off the top of my head because it's been a long time since I've looked at a Cerberus. If there's a MIDI out on it, it's possible, but I don't know. I haven't looked at the MIDI controllers, and I have to look at that. But that would be something that if you sent us a message through, I think if you comment on this video when you see the playback, if you comment on it, I'll try to answer that question for you a little more concretely there. Let's take a look at a couple of other questions here real quick. Okay, so a couple things about okay, so here's a question from Taurus. When will the Trident be out? Well, we're going to announce it at NAMM. I'll be showing it there at that point. We're also doing some videos with Premier Guitar at the show, and after that we will have it in queue. It is basically done at this point. It's in production. It's been finished, and I believe it will be on its way from China in the next couple of days. So that means that in the United States, we'll have it here sometime in late April, early May. So that's when we should have it at that point. And so here's another question. Is the Trident basically a Cerberus with amp modeling combined? No, not really at all. There's a lot more going on in there. And you know what? I'll talk about it in a few minutes, actually. When we get past the MIDI part of this whole thing, I'll delve into it and talk about it a bit more at length. Let's see if there's any other things here. Okay, well, there's one last Cerberus question. Okay, when did the last Cerberus update come out? It's probably been a couple of years now at this point, I would think. I think development basically has just kind of stopped on it. That's all I can say about it. I don't have any other answers for you on that particular question. So hope that helps. Maybe it didn't. I'm sorry if it didn't, Taurus. Let's go to our next part of today's tutorial. Okay, so in the other part of this tutorial is to talk about MIDI. Now, MIDI, there we go. Hey, it's all working. How about that? Okay, now MIDI, when it comes to MIDI, here's the thing about the Amp Academy and MIDI. All of the MIDI messages are not sent through a traditional MIDI port because the Amp Academy does not have a MIDI port on it. The Amp Academy has a USB-C port, and it receives and sends MIDI information as well as audio information all through that port. Okay, so if you've got it connected to your computer by way of USB-A to USB-C, you can send MIDI messages out to the through to the Amp Academy by way of a DAW, software synthesizer, anything that sends out MIDI information. Heck, you could even probably figure out a way to do it with GarageBand on your iOS device. It's probably a way to do it there too, although technically I haven't tried that yet, so you proceed with caution, kids. But the other way to do it is to do it the way that I'm showing right here, where I am using, let me go up there real quick. Okay, so I'm using this is a full MIDI setup, meaning that I can use this series of foot switches here to send MIDI messages to the Amp Academy by way of a USB MIDI host. So let me explain the setup. So we are using, these are the components that I'm using. So I'm using an Ampero control. Now, why am I using a hot tone product in a NUX video? Well, we don't make a MIDI foot switch yet. But again, we don't know when or where. We are looking into it. We are looking into it though. We have our foot switch. Our foot switch is controlled by way of an app, which I'll take you through that a bit in a few minutes. We're going MIDI out to the MIDI in on a door MIDI USB MIDI host. And what this does is it takes MIDI data and translates it into USB data that can then be sent to the USB-C port on the back of the MIDI of the Amp Academy. Then that is the way that you can send and receive MIDI. So if I start messing around with any of the foot switches, you can see a couple of things are happening. First and foremost, you can see that the scenes are changing, the amps are changing, all that great stuff. And you can also see right here as I'm making those switches, you can see that the MIDI in, it's receiving MIDI in and it's sending out MIDI out from there as well. So that's how I'm using it. Now I've got it set up in a series of different setups here, which I'll show you in a minute, so you know exactly what I'm doing. Okay, but what I'm also using is I'm using the control input. This also takes expression pedals and it takes additional foot switches. I'm using an expression pedal here, a hot tone expression pedal. Again, we don't make an expression pedal. That's why I'm using a hot tone. And I am sending data from there to the control input, and that has been sent to, I'm using it as a volume swell. And you can see that as I'm making adjustments, you can see that the red LED right there in the MIDI in is lighting up to let you know that it is receiving MIDI. And the Voodoo vibe here serves absolutely no purpose in a MIDI sense in any way. There's no MIDI going on here. I'm simply using the send and return of the Amp Academy along with the Voodoo vibe just to give us that extra texture. So hope that made sense. Let me see if there's any questions here. Okay, I don't see. Yeah, this thing about the combination of the two devices. Okay, but we're still talking about the Cerberus there. Okay, well, Jenna, we'll get to that. We'll get to that when we get to that at some point. Maybe I can, maybe stick around and what I'll try to do when I get done with this demo. This part of the demo is maybe I'll bring up a browser and see if I can answer the question, or at least try to hack an answer for you, because I'll be kind of guessing at some point about that. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm using the Ampero Control app that's on your iOS or Android device. Now, this is I did a video on this when I was still the pedal guy and not an employee of NUX. I did a video on this and I showed what you could do with the Ampero Control, and apparently I seem to be the only person, aside from one other guy that I could hardly understand anything he was talking about, showing how to use it in a real scenario. I liked the other video, but it was not applicable to what I was doing because at the time. But the Ampero Control can actually send out MIDI for a variety of different reasons. And you can send it out through USB, MIDI, and Bluetooth if you want to. So it actually serves a lot of different purposes. That's pretty handy indeed. And this isn't a slam towards Hot Tone, but their manuals just suck. They're just really hard to deal with, and you've got to pretty much figure it out all on your own. And they know it. They just don't want to do anything about it. But I can't say all of our manuals are the best either. But now they're getting much better because I'm correcting all the language in it and making sure everything makes sense. And that's what it's all about. So what you've got here with the Ampero Control is you've got these 4 foot switches. You've got that control and expression input output, and by setting all of this up, you can do a variety of different things. So right now, I have created a scene called NUX amp/scene. And what we do from here is the first foot switch enables me to toggle between channel A and channel B. So I can do it from the actual foot switch here if I want to. I can also use the test message on the app, and I can make the adjustment there if I want to. See, I'm not even tapping the unit. I'm not even touching the foot switch. I'm doing it all from the app. There's a test message there, and you can see that it's sending out test messages as I go along. And then I have scene 1, 2, and 3 available to me on the 3 foot switches. So 1, 2, 3. So from here, the idea behind this philosophy of this setup is I could toggle from channel A to channel B, and then I could go from scene 3 to scene 1 to scene 2. I can jump all over the different scenes if I want to, then jump back to channel A, and then make those adjustments again. Okay, so that's what I set up, and that's why I set it up. So let me take you through how that was done. So let's go back to the first foot switch. So if we go to the mode, now if you haven't used the Ampero Control before, this could serve as kind of a tutorial on how to do it. We go back to mode. Now if we look at mode, we have 4 different options here to choose from. We have single, we have toggle, we have momentary, we have hold. And we do have a little information button per unit or per preference that tells you exactly what it does. Now in the case of toggling between channel A and channel B on the Amp Academy, you need to use a toggle. Momentary won't work, hold won't work. You need a toggle because you want to press that foot switch once and it sends out one program change. Okay? You want to hit that foot switch again and you need to send out another program change. So once you've determined which mode you're going to work with on a particular foot switch, then you need to go in and you need to make adjustments. Like what I could do is I could go over to just a blank here, and I could go to toggle, right? Select toggle, and now I have group A, group B. Okay, and then from there you go to the bottom right corner where the little plus sign is, and that is where you can add a controller change, a program change, whatever you want to do. Now, in the case of the amps, that are in the Amp Academy, those are program changes. So you have 12 values that start at the number 0. That's the other thing to know about MIDI, is that 0 counts. The number 0 counts. It's a binary language. So if you're talking about 12 amps, one would think, oh, okay, well, it's amp 1 and then amp 12. And those are the corresponding program changes. Nope, not quite. In the case of MIDI, it is 0 to 11 because those are 12 values. So if I wanted to, I could go here to channel 1. I could go to the type. And right now it's set to control change, but I can set it to program change. Then I could go to data, and this is where I would say, okay, I want it to go to 0. I want it to use the very first amp. And from there, you could then say whether you want to send it out through USB, MIDI, or Bluetooth. In this case, we're using a MIDI port, so that's fine. Now, what we would do at this point is we would then go to group A. We could go to group A and or group B and program another program switch in. But let me show you what I mean by this. So I toggled over to channel B here, and if you're wondering why I'm doing that, I'm going to hit the test button. See, test button went right back over to channel A. And not only that, it went to the very first amp that's available to us. That's how it works. So let's say I want to go to B, group B, and let's say I want to go and do another program change. And this time, I'm just going to go buck wild, and I'm going to go all the way up to 11. Yes, I know you're going to make Spinal Tap jokes. I know. Okay, so I've got it programmed in. If I hit the test button, boom, there it goes. Went to channel. It went to program. You went to program 10 or 11. So if I go to 12, it shouldn't go anywhere. See, it doesn't go anywhere because there's no destination. Okay, so let's go back to 10. There we go. All right, so that's all there is to it in the app. Once you're done, make sure you save. You're going to save everything, and you're in good shape. I'm not going to save this, obviously, because I've already done everything I need to do there. But I'm going to go back to amp scene. So I'm going to go ahead and say, are you sure you want to switch? Yes, I'm sure I want to switch. So now to review what I've done here in this situation is it will probably mean that I got to bring on my guitar again. There we go. Now, if you're wondering, how did I get all of those MIDI addresses? It's very simple to do. If you go to the app on your desktop, you can go to the settings. You can go to a little button down at the bottom in the right-hand corner. It says, near the right-hand corner, that says MIDI Editor, and it will bring up all of the MIDI addresses for you right there. Or you can go to the Facebook group that works on, the Facebook group that is dedicated to the Amp Academy, and one of our moderators, Steve, has already put them up there. So you have the whole list of addresses right there. So that's not a problem at all. Okay, so what I've done in this scene, one more check on that. Okay, there we go. Switch to the bridge. I'm just trying to find the bridge. Okay, sorry, now I'm in a Zeppelin mood. Okay, so what I've done here is I have set up the foot switch. The first foot switch is going to toggle between the two. So that's the super reverb. And that should be the soldano. And then I can jump to the different scenes. Now what I've also done is I've set up this volume pedal, or this expression pedal. Or maybe I didn't do it on this one. Did I? Let's try that. There it is. Right, so go back to channel A. Now the reason I didn't like it at 0 there is because I like to have a little bit of volume on the bottom. So it sounds a little more natural. But sometimes it takes a little experimentation to make all that work. Okay, so that is what this particular scene is set up to do. Now, are there other, and I'll go back to the other screen just a second. Are there other solutions for MIDI controllers? Of course there are. You can use a MIDI sequencer, and you could dial into the Amp Academy that way. You could use a keyboard controller that sends out MIDI information, and you could use that if you want to. There are a ton of other foot switches that you could also invest into. This just happened to be the one that I had lying around. There's a company called Mellow Audio, I think, that makes one. Nectar makes one, Behringer makes one. Anything that sends out MIDI messages can be used. This one just happens to be a little easier because I seem to be the only person who uses it, or talks about using it. And I felt, what the hell, I just don't need to go buy another MIDI controller just to show this to you. This is all concept. This is all concept for you to take in and try for yourself. So let me go back over here and go over to the other scene that I set up. And this one's a bit different. Okay, so in this case, what I've done is I've created a series of toggle switches. Now, in the first toggle switch, what I've done is I've created a program change, and I am selecting the Vibro King amp when this is hit. Now, that's the first time you press it. The second time you press it, it will change scenes. So you can toggle to a different scene if you want to. So here's what it does. So let me go over to my third foot switch. So I just want to show you what it does. Okay, there you go. Or you can toggle back and forth. So what that does is it gives you two different tones that you can play with on one foot switch. Same thing goes for the next one. I'll go to the next one, and the next one is the Cali Crunch. So two variations on the Cali Crunch. Obviously, some master volume adjustments need to be made here, but you're getting the point, right? So the third one is the Soldano. So I'm working with the Soldano, I'm rocking along, right? Now I'm going to jump back over to the Vibro King. Get a lower grip. Now I'm going to go back over to the Soldano. Whoa, baby. So that's what it's all about. So the next one is a reverb. Although I don't know what I actually set up on here. Nope, I set this up as a bypass. That's what I did. So I know I set it up as I saved it as reverb, but what it actually is a bypass. So in this case, what I did is I created a I created 2 program change messages here. So in group A, it is the data, it's a controller change, and it is destination 46. That's the address for the bypass control on the pedal. It's the same thing as hitting both of the foot switches at the same time, which bypasses the pedal. Then turn it on and it's back on. But I wanted one foot switch to be able to do it, where I could turn it off and on. So what I did here is I said, okay, data 46, that's the bypass controller address. Then what I did is I set a value of 0, which is off. And then I set up on B, group B, I set up the same controller address 46, but a value of 1. You see the range is 0 for this parameter. This address is 0 and 1, off, on. Remember binary, right? So if I press it, when I release it, it's off. When I press it again, release it, it's back on. So it's a really handy feature when you use this. Now the thing about it is that, and people will say, well, why doesn't it turn off the second you press down? Well, that's because that action hasn't been written into the app, I would assume, or into the unit itself. When you press, it's a behavior that hasn't been written into this foot switch. But if that foot switch has the capability of reacting to that behavior, then it would turn on the second that the foot switch is depressed. But in this case, that's not the case. But still, it's a really handy feature because, you know, you could be playing and all of a sudden you got a problem, you got to turn it off really fast. And you forget, oh, I got to hit both the foot switches. Well, in this case, boom, done. Turned it off. Okay, we're going to start the gig. You know, start the gig. Okay, playing the gig. Now the gig's over. Done. No problem. Easy. So that's one of the things about working with MIDI that's actually a lot of fun, is that you can do some pretty incredible stuff with MIDI. Let me get this thing off me here. Now you can't see what I'm doing back there. I can't turn the camera right now, but I've got this whole rig going on over here now that I'm working on a whole song creation series of videos, or the premise of it right now. I haven't actually started shooting that content yet, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And if you want to know more about it, I'll talk about it in a few minutes. But just to wrap it up, and what I'll do here is let me get rid of the browser window here again. I thought that was going to be a good idea to have that, but you know, I move around too much, so sometimes it just looks kind of cheesy, and I'm not really into that. So the whole idea here is that MIDI is a very helpful tool when you're working with and a lot of our products, because we do support MIDI on a lot of the various products that we make. The MG300, for example, the MG400, the MG30, all of those have MIDI capabilities. There's also, say, the Tape Echo, which actually has MIDI ports on it. The Cerberus that Jenna was asking about, the Cerberus has actual MIDI ports on the back. We have other products that do MIDI, like our NPK10, NPK20 digital pianos. They do MIDI, but they do it over USB as well. So again, you would need a USB MIDI host to make something like that work. Did I just say host? Yeah, that's weird. Anyway, I hope you guys are able to see all this as I'm jabber-jawing away here. But the whole idea in working with MIDI is it's a helper. It's just to help make your life a little easier. And if you understand it, you take the time to learn it and understand it, you can do some powerful things with MIDI. I have been working in MIDI since 1993, I think. I want to say 1993, back when I was working on an Atari 1040 ST, which, you know, Atari, you may not know this, they used to make music computers. It wasn't just for playing asteroids. They made computers that were for the purpose of making music. And I used an Atari 1040 ST with, I believe at that point it was an Ensoniq. It was an Ensoniq synth. Boy, the model escapes me on which one I was using. But that's the one I was using, and I was using Cubase when it was when it was just a sequencing program. And I've been using MIDI since then. So I've been around the block a few times when it comes to MIDI, and I know the power of it. And you can do some amazing things with it. It can also drive you up the wall too. But you have to take the time to learn. And if you're not familiar with MIDI, if I just did a whole bunch of stuff there that just went right over your head, what I'd suggest doing is Jeff Rona wrote a book several years ago. You could probably get on the cheap from Amazon as a used book or something about MIDI. And it seems really childish when you start looking at that book because it's all got a bunch of hand-drawn, well, long before there was a term meme. There were little drawings that were silly little drawings in there. But it does give you a very clear idea of what MIDI is, because this is just scratching the surface. If I started talking about hexadecimal, your eyes would glaze over. Your head would explode. It would be a tragedy. It would be on CNN. We're not going to do that. Okay, we're not going to talk about hexadecimal. I don't want to talk about hexadecimal. I had to learn it, and it was like water torture for me. It was just the worst. I had to do it because Roland synthesizers, all of the addresses for all of the different parameters that a Roland synth could do were all in hexadecimal in the back of the manuals. Probably still is that way. I don't know. I haven't looked at a Roland product in a really long time. But oh my God, trying to do that was a genuine pain in the keister. So I can't say enough bad things about doing it that way. But in any case, I've been around for a long time with MIDI, and I love what you can do with it. I love all the things you can do. As a guitar player, it gave me the freedom to be able to program my own beats, program my own bass lines, everything else, and not have to work with a band, but create a band sound, or at least back then, the approximation of one. These days, they would seem rather antiquated by comparison to what we can do today. You kids don't know how good you've got it. And that's the reality of it, is that it's so much easier now to do all this stuff. But back then it was, oh gosh, I probably still have some of my old MIDI gear lying around here. I know I have I definitely have my old synths still lying around here, or at least a few of them. But those were the days where it was quite a challenge, and you had to really struggle. It was like you're that guitar player looking for, you're chasing that tone, and you can't quite find that tone. You can't quite figure it out. That's what it's all about. Is MIDI was the same idea. You wanted to do this one little thing, and it took forever to find a way to do it. And now it's like, it's right here on an app. I mean, how friggin' easy is that, right? That's the beauty of all of it. Let me see what I got here. Let me see what I got here, kids. Sorry, one second. Booyah! Okay. All right. I am so sorry. This is the last day of the month, of the quarter. Okay, there we go. This is the last day of the month in the quarter, and our business here in the United States has just been fantastic. Our growth has been unreal, is the word I would use to describe it. It's really something else. I couldn't be happier with the improvement of everything that's gone on here at NUX. Not only from a development perspective, things are always developing here, but the fact is that our name is getting out there. People are figuring out who we are. We don't have to say NUX all the time or correct people when they say NUX. I'm really, really proud of that and happy about that. And so, I know a lot of that is due to the enthusiastic audience that I have here, that we have as a company out here, saying this is it. And it harkens back to that day when I first met the guys from NUX at an amp show, when I was at the pedal guy, and I was looking for new brands to bring into my store. And I met the guy who was repping NUX at the time there. I had a 5-minute discussion with him at this amp show in Van Nuys. What an amazing thing that was, because I talked to him and he said, try it out. So I said, okay, we'll bring a couple pedals in and we'll see what happens. Next thing you know, I'm going out there every other day and buying stuff, or every week at that point. And then the pandemic happened, and man, I was there almost every freaking day because it was that busy. It was crazy. It was nuts. Never in my life would I imagined I could have gotten that busy as a single person running this business. And both of us, my wife and I, are both hunkered down here at the house, and it's it's a long time coming. And so when this opportunity came up, I jumped at it because NUX is a brand on the grow. We are on our way up. People are just talking about the brand now. And I don't know if you guys saw the latest review from John Bollinger on Premier Guitar that he did of the MIDI Space, but what a great video review that was. I can also tell you that we're working on some pretty sizable reviews for the drum kits as well. So if you happen to be one of the guys that's into the drums, guys or girls that are into the drums, you might be interested in seeing that come out, because the drums are pretty cool. If you've ever thought about getting into electronic drums, you really ought to try ours out, especially that DM210 at $550. It's pretty darn good. Okay, so let me see what we got here. Okay, Jeno, I saw. Okay, good night, and thanks for the invitation. I'm glad. I will try to reach out to you, Jeno, and answer that question about the Cerberus in the near future here. So I will take a look at that. Maybe you could send me a quick email on that, info@thepedalguide.com. I'll see what I can do about getting that answer for you. Okay, let's go back up a little bit, and let's see if there's any questions I need to follow up on here, because we're coming on to an hour and a half almost here at this point. And if you have questions, now's the time to start asking them. I want to take a quick look-see at what's going on here. Bear with me, everybody. Okay. I'm going back all the way through a couple of different settings here, so bear with me for a second. Everybody. Okay, Tommy, you're on Facebook and it's working. Okay. Taurus, I want to answer your other questions here really quick. Let's see. Tolentino? Luis Tolentino. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Super fast pedal, and just tried it and liked it, and I would like one. Good. Grab one. We got him. Let's see. Just looking at everybody else here, if there's anything else. Mighty, the Tape Core, the Mighty Plug Pro Silo. How you doing, buddy? Let's see. I'm just trying to go through all of there. Okay. I think that's it. Let me go back over here. Okay, now I can go back over here and I can circle back to a couple of the earlier questions or statements and all that. Let's take a look here. Okay, so Taurus and I were talking about Kip Winger a minute ago. So, I mentioned this earlier, the Trident. The Trident is going to have some presets written by Reb Beach, the guitarist for Winger. Boy, I remember when he played Ibanez guitars, and well, he still does, I think. But this was the 80s. This was the late 80s. And if you weren't playing Ibanez, you weren't playing guitar. I mean, they just did such a great job of marketing those brands. I never played an Ibanez, actually. As far as like owning one, I actually did play some Ibanez's, and a particular one that belonged to Steve Vai back in the day. When I was taking guitar lessons, my guitar teacher was friends with Steve, and he was able to go to his storage space and get his guitars and bring them in. And I was able to play some of the ones you see in the David Lee Roth videos from back then. And boy, they were cool guitars. They were really, really cool guitars. But let's see, what he said. Okay, Tar said, what's crazy is I was meeting with some of high school buddies that night for dinner, and one of the guys sent the Winger song "Hungry" before we met. That's funny. The Korean barbecue spot in K-Town in Los Angeles. Yeah. Boy, I wouldn't mind some Korean barbecue right now. That sounds pretty good. Okay, and I guess Taurus, I guess you heard the new Extreme song. You know, I'm ashamed to admit I have not listened to it yet. I had lunch with Nuno a few years ago in a previous job when I was a buyer for Guitar Center. I literally had nothing to do with the conversation, but for some reason, the person that was with us felt that I might be able to give some feedback. So, of course, he wrote and said, "Hey, do you want to have lunch with me and Nuno?" And I said, "Nuno Betancourt? Oh, yes, please." And we went and had lunch. And this was right when he was starting out as the guitarist for Rihanna's band. And he was just the nicest guy. And I remember vividly meeting him or going as a kid to go see Extreme do Three Sides of Every Story with my then girlfriend, now wife, at the Universal Amphitheater, which then became the Gibson Amphitheater, which now is the Harry Potter ride over there in Universal Studios. And it blew my mind. That album was a misunderstood album, I think, by people who just thought that Extreme was just going to be more than words and that's it. It was like the big slap across the face to everybody who thought that was going to happen again. Because, that's not who they are. They're rockers. And was an awesome show. See, Saigon Kick was the opening act. It was fun. It was cool to go to concerts in the 90s. I don't care what anybody says. All right, let's see what else we got here. We got some other points here. Okay, I think there was something about the Trident here. Okay, Taurus wrote, so Taurus asked another question here about the Trident, or asked this question earlier, and wanted to know about it. Okay, so what I can tell you is this, without giving away all of the secrets here. The Trident shares some of the obvious build quality, construction, ergonomics of the Cerberus. For example, the metal shell, the metal casing, the knobs, the switches, things like that. That is where it stops. That is exactly where it stops. From there, it is a totally different ballgame because this has the new TSAC 4K audio algorithm in the box. And what I can tell you is that it redefines the relationship between the amp head and the cabinet. I know I'm probably just saying a bunch of buzzwords here and just getting you all hot and bothered. But here's the thing. You can change everything, every little nuance has been reproduced right down to the jumper cables on the back of the amp and the cab. That's all been emulated in the Trident. And that's what I mean. It is really a big, giant step above what the Cerberus was. It's not the slam the Cerberus in any way. That was a great product when it first came out. It still is a very solid product now. There are still people that buy it all the time. And it's not like it's not a discontinued product. It's still very active. And I'd even dare say there might be an updated version of that at some point. I'm not sure. But the Trident is a different product entirely. It just has those housing characteristics, that the commonalities between the two. But it is a much different product. Now, as far as the editing capabilities and all that, you have the QuickTone editor. That's going to be a part of how it works. It has MIDI in and out with 1/8" jacks. It has a USB-C port. It has XLR outputs, and it has 1/4" outputs. So you can simultaneously go to 2 FR speakers, and you can go to front of house. It has a 4-cable method built into it. So it does have all of that going for it. But make no mistake, this is a guitarist's processor, meaning that we're not doing any bass amps in this currently. And we're not doing any acoustic guitar stuff in it currently. But right now, it is all about guitars, guitars, guitars. So it's all about electrics in there. And I can't wait to demonstrate it for you guys in a couple of weeks when we get to the show. But we'll be there showing that booth 4335 in case any of you are going to be at the show. If not, just stay tuned to Facebook because you'll see everything there. Yeah, so all good, man. All good. Okay, let's keep going here. What else is going on? Silo, love the tape core, the Mighty Plug Pro. I'm glad those are really great products. Love them to death. They're all good in my book. Okay. Not a bad one. Okay, so you started out on an Atari 2600. There you go, playing Qbert and Frogger. Was there any music on there that you can make? I don't think there was. I'm not sure. I had a 5200, You know, the 2600. It was the 5100 or the 5200. I forgot what the name was, the model was. But that's the game I had, and that's the system I had. And oh, it was so much fun actually back in its day. And then of course Nintendo came out and just basically decimated everything else out there. But if in case you were late to the game on that one, the reason we were talking about Atari was because that's where I started with MIDI, was on a 1040 ST. Never used a Falcon though. I never used an Atari Falcon. Those things were difficult from what I understand. Billy Howardell from APC does a lot of that. A lot of what? Let me know. Let me know. In any case, I think we're kind of coming to the end here, guys. You know, I knew that this was going to be more or less a limited audience that we would reach with this particular video, this particular live stream. The ones that are coming up after this, we're going to be talking about other products. Obviously, I'll be doing a lot about the Trident. Let me just say this. I'm going to put a lot of extra space in my car when I get to the show because the guys in the main office in China are going to be bringing in a lot of products with them. And those products are going to be finding their way into my car. Oh, you have been warned. And I will be bringing a lot of those with me home here. So I can tell you about a couple of the other ones here. The Trident is obviously one of them. We will be showing the new core pedals. We'll be showing those in a couple of weeks. But you didn't hear that from me? Well, you did. We'll be showing a couple of new amps. We will also be showing the, what else will we be showing? There's a new reissue pedal called the 65 Overdrive. We'll be showing that one. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we will be showing that'll be brand new, stuff that hasn't come out quite just yet. And I can tell you right now, we are scratching the surface on what's coming. There is so much stuff coming this year. It's crazy, man. We're getting ahead of all of it and putting it into our forecasts and all that, but there are days where, you know, I'm like, if I could only tell you guys everything that's coming, but I can't, not yet. But those are the things that you should be able to read the tea leaves and know that that's what's coming. Okay. All right, so Jimmy's got a question for me here. Okay, Jimmy, how do you think the Amp Academy would do in the effects loop of a multi-effects unit? You know, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, Jimmy. It would really depend on what that effects unit is going to be. So if you want to let me know what multi-effects unit you're talking about, let me know, and I'll see if I can give you an answer. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure how well that would work because I haven't actually tried it myself. I suppose at some point I could try it with, like, say, the MG30 or something. But yeah, it might work. The question would be why. But, okay, so the Moore Red Truck. The Moore Red Truck. Haven't used it. I have not used the Red Truck, so I don't know how I could answer that question. If you could give me a little more information on that, Jimmy, like how do you envision using it? Because I've never used the Red Truck. I could take a quick look-see here and see if I can give you a quick idea of what I think could happen with that. Let me bring up a Red Truck here. More Red Truck. All right. Okay, well that's the black truck. I want the red truck. Where's the red truck? William, how are you? Okay. Okay, I see. So, Jimmy, you're asking if you could use the Amp Academy in this kind of a situation. Let's see what we got here on the back. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you could totally do that. Okay, so what you would do in this case, Jimmy, okay, here's how you would do it. Here's how you would do it. Okay, so listen up. This is how you would do it. Because look, the thing is that the amp is the amp. Okay, the Amp Academy is your amp. So let's talk about how you would do that. What you would do is you would use the send and return of the Amp Academy with the send and return of the red truck. Okay, that's how you would do it. And then inside of the Amp Academy, you would pop the red truck in the send and return. You'd go in the editor and you would move the send and return where you need it to be along the signal path. And that's how you would use it. So hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, you could integrate that. That's one way you could certainly integrate that. I mean, it would take a little bit of work and guessing, but you could absolutely do it. You might be asking why I don't know anything about the red truck. You know, the red truck is More was a, when it comes to the United States, More is kind of a weird company. It's not that they make bad products, not by a long shot. I used to sell the GP200, I think, which was their multi-effects processor. Sold a few of those, and they were good. The problem was they had zero support here in the United States at the time. I think it's gotten a little better in the last couple of years, but in that time it wasn't very good at all, and that's why I didn't bother really getting behind it with the pedal guy. Whereas like Hot Tone, at least I would get some sort of social media love out of it or things like that, you know, because I had to run a business after all. It wasn't a bad product. It's just that I couldn't make it work for what I needed to do for my business to make it viable. But I did hear really great things about the red truck, the black truck, all those. It's just that I was so busy at the moment, I just didn't even have time to even turn and pay any attention to it. Plus, there were like a million people coming at me saying, we're the distributor. No, we're the distributor. No, we're the distributor. So I didn't know who the hell to buy it from. Was the other thing I could never quite figure out. But I think it's I think, yeah, what I did remember about it, it was actually a pretty decent product back in its day. Let's see. Just picked up the Amp Academy and getting up to speed on it. Good. Okay. Well, I did a couple of videos. I did 2 videos on it and a live stream that really went through everything. And of course, if you go and jump back through the through this live stream and the playback, you can definitely read up on the. You could definitely listen up on the Amp Academy, and hopefully it'll help you out a little bit. But it is a lot of fun. I think you're going to have a lot of fun with it. Getting up to speed, I already had the red truck here and was experimenting. Good. Okay. Great. Awesome. Good. Good, people. All right. I do love this new computer. How is the, by the way, I don't get to actually see this while we're going. Okay, when I'm looking at it, I'm just looking at OBS here. How does the stream look? Could you guys give me a quick thumbs up, or just like, how does it look? Is it clear? Is it jagged? Is it laggy? What are you thinking about here? I mean, does it look good on your end, or is it still kind of, do I still look like I'm in 8-bit hell around here? Let me know, because I spent a pretty penny on this whole new setup here just to I could start making everything look great. Okay, the camera's great, sharp and crystal clear. Good, glad to hear it. Okay, awesome. This is a Lumix, by the way, that I'm using, a Panasonic Lumix. Love this camera. This is really cool. And then I have an Elgato converter that I'm using into this brand new MSI gaming laptop that has just been an ass-kicking product since I got it. And I can't believe how much cooler everything looks now. And of course, because I'm going directly from OBS into Restream through RTMP, rather than the other way around where I go into the studio, where I'm limited by everything that the studio does. It's kind of crazy. I'm going to take a look at EV-MUX though. I don't know if you guys have tried that yet or not, if any of you guys are live streamers, but EV-MUX is another service out there that's free. And I'm a little wary, obviously, of something that's free, but then again, OBS is free, so who knows? But it's one of those things that I definitely have to go through and check out. But it is a lot of fun to work with. But yeah, anyway, okay, so I'm going to start rambling at this point. And I want to try to avoid that if I can. But if there are any last minute questions, now is probably a good time to ask it before we sign off for the day. Always hydrate. Always hydrate. All right. I can show you a little bit over here. If I toggle over, you might be able to see what I'm doing there. Okay, so it's kind of hard to make out what I'm doing back there, but I'm working, actually, there you go, a little bit further. Right, now you can see the laptop stand and everything going on over there. I am working on a new project now, or outlining a new project. that I think will be very interesting to everybody at some point in some form or another. NUX will obviously play a part in it, and I will be broadcasting on the Pedal Guy YouTube channel and Facebook page. I won't be doing it on NUX, but I'll be talking about NUX pedals and integrating that. But I'm going to do this. So follow me on this and let me know if you think this is a good idea or not. There are a lot of videos out there that talk about all the features of different programs and products, but nobody actually takes you all the way from the beginning to the end of actually writing, creating, recording, and mixing a song, all the way from start to finish. And it appears to me that that's an opportunity for people to really get an idea of what are these tools and how do I use them in the real world, and not watch somebody who's got like, hundreds of thousands of people following them and listen to every burp and fart that comes out of their channel. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but sometimes it's just lip service, or it's just for the fact of I'm being sponsored by this person or something like that. But nobody actually gives you the good information on how all of that works. That's something that I'm looking at doing here, because I've been trying to push myself to get back into songwriting again and actually doing something creative, because I've been kind of getting an itch to do it. Just frankly, during the pandemic, I was so busy, I didn't even have time to even blow my nose at times. It was crazy. I know, just ask my accountant. I was so late on getting my taxes done back in 2021 because I was so busy in 2020. But the idea is that I want to interject some new blood to the channel. The way I was doing things before is fine, and I'm still going to continue to do pedal demos and all that. That's not going to change because I love pedals. That's why I do this. But I think though that when I see some of the videos on how to use Ableton Live, or how to use Band in a Box, or how to use Reaper and these other things, you know what? It's not a slam towards the content they're creating. It's just that I think that they're taking it from the perspective of, you clearly already know the program, that's why you're watching my videos. Where the reality is, you don't know jack squat about the program, and you're getting confused as hell when you watch the videos. How do I start? Where do I begin? What are the tools I need? All those other things. And I think that there's an opportunity for a series like that where I can talk about those kind of things. And obviously, take it from the perspective of a singer-songwriter, a guitarist, which is where I'm going from. Maybe I can talk my friend Amiko into coming in to one of our artists, Amiko. She's been doing a lot of videos for us on the NUX channel. Maybe I can talk her into coming in, and we can do a song together or something and have a little fun. We'll see, or who knows? Maybe I'll bring one of you guys in. Maybe one of you guys wants to collaborate with me on something. But I've just been actually getting all reinvigorated about working in DAWs again. I spent most of my career in digital audio and in high tech. The majority of even though I am a guitarist first, the majority of my career since 1996 has been in high tech only. So that is like with Steinberg, I was writing books, I was teaching in a film school, I was working for Cakewalk, then I did Guitar Center, Atom Audio, Focusrite, The Pedal Guy, and now NUX. So I've done a few jobs in high tech, and I think at this point now there is an opportunity to step in and maybe help out a little bit with just trying to take out this bag of snakes and lay them out straight and try to help you guys understand what is possible with all of this. How do I integrate plugin? How do I integrate pedals into all of this? I just spent all this money on pedals. How do I use it for recording? Well, that's what I want to help you guys figure out. So if you think something like that would be fun, just use the comment section and let me know, because I think that it would be, it would be a hoot, really. I can't say anything else about the development of NUX over time, but look, if you read between the lines or read the tea leaves, whatever you're thinking of, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw us get into the home studio business at some point, or the live sound business at some point. I think it's a natural evolution, and there's a desire for it, and there's a hole in the assortment for it, and there's an opportunity out there for it. And what I'm working on here is these fundamentals for teaching people how to actually make music on the products they buy, I think might help quite a bit. So, this is one of those things. It's more of a passion project more than anything at this point, but something I am very much considering because I think it would be a lot of fun. And hopefully you do too. I don't know. Just let me know. Maybe I'm misfiring. Maybe I'm making a whole big stink for no reason, but maybe I'm doing it just because, I need something. I need a creative outlet. And as we all do as artists, we do need creative outlets. So I'm not going to go gig anytime soon. I really don't have much of an interest in doing that. I'll go see gigs. I'll go to bars and have, see gigs at bars and stuff like that. But, these days I have to be a little reserved for my hearing and everything else and all of that fun stuff. I've been having a lot of ringing in the ears lately. It's been more or less sinuses and things like that, allergies. But still, there's nothing more disturbing than when you get to nearly 50 and your ears are ringing. But I can thank Ted Nugent for that one if you really want to know. I went to see Damn Yankees back in 1990 and blew my friggin' ears off for about a week, and ever since then I've had ringing in my ears. Nevertheless, that's going way off topic. But in any case, lots of stuff to discuss, everybody. I hope you got something out of this live stream. I certainly did. These are always fun. It's been a while since I did the last one. I did one on the MIDI space like 2 months ago now, I think, at this point. I've just been so freaking busy that I haven't had a chance to really get back in here and do any of this. But now I think at any time is this is the right time to get back in there and keep doing it, because I think that you guys value the information you get. I like the ability to get out and actually work with the customers, work with the end users, and find out what people want to know more about, because there's always something more that people do want to know about what I'm doing here, or how do I use these products? How do I make it work for me? What do I do with it? What's the big deal? What's all the hubbub, bub? And that's why I do these things. So I hope that you guys get something out of it. I hope you enjoyed this today. If you have any other topics you want me to cover, use the comment section. Let me know and I'll see what I can do. All right. But in any case, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. We're going wine tasting this weekend. And after that, we will see what April brings. And if you're coming to the NAMM show, booth 4335, or actually this way, it'll be 4335. We'll be there. I'll see you there. Okay? Have a great one.